And I joined you a couple of weeks ago or so. And that time I was talking about uncontrived mindfulness at towards its purer end, so to speak. I tend to see the practice of meditation, the practice of being even, but especially of mindfulness meditation. I tend to see it on a spectrum from at one end more intentional, where we're directing the mind, where we're using, um, where we're directing where the attention lands. So, traditionally on the breath or on the body or on the sounds. And by using intention, our volition in that way, we can be very clear about whether or not we're present. And we can build up a kind of momentum and continuity of presence in that way. That's at one end. And at the other end is what you could call uncontrived mindfulness or just sitting, where there is no attempt to control where the attention goes. We just notice where the attention goes. And at its sort of pure extreme, which is, as it were, how Banti taught, all he said was when we just sit, we just sit. So in other words, there's no attempt to do anything there. And that end of things can be extremely satisfying. And yeah, the session I did a few weeks ago, I was just trying to explore what it's like to land more or less straight in that point. But of course, lots of the time it doesn't really feel very satisfying when our mind is busy or there's quite a lot of turbulence going on. And so usually we approach, well, if we're trying to practice in this way, we approach that end of the spectrum through resourcing ourselves. Vajradev has been talking quite a bit about resourcing exercises. So we resource ourselves in different ways by either directing attention or building up positive emotion. She's also been talking about connecting with Shraddha, various ways of resourcing the mind. And I thought I'd just put this in terms of the five aspects of spiritual practice, just to put it within that framework that Sangharakshita has given us. So I think within that framework, uncontrived mindfulness, to use that language, pure just sitting, is like spiritual receptivity, which is the heart of the mandala. And so in a sense, you could say that's where all practice is leading eventually. Made it difficult just to land in that spot. So I've got some visual aids off my shrine here. So my yidam is Vajrasattva, and he balances a Vajra on his palm, but I can't do that. It don't work for me. It's like it sort of needs a bigger base to balance on. So this is what it can feel like to me sometimes, trying to just sit. And the mind is not ready for it. It's like trying to balance this thing. My mind just sort of falls over in all sorts of different ways. So it's a little bit as if we could tie a guy rope, like a little string to the top and peg it out. And then it would sit really stably, wouldn't it? So we can have four strings in our system. We've got the string of integration, which is like where we apply intentional effort to be present. So by directing attention, that's one way we can think of as integration. We've got the string of positive emotion, which we all know about. We've got the string of spiritual depth or insight or right view, in the way that Vajradevi talks about it. And we've got the string of spiritual rebirth, which one way I think about that is that's letting Shraddha find its object. Letting Shraddha find its object. However we conceive of the object of Shraddha, it could be something quite visceral and felt in the body. It could be more visionary in terms of image of the Buddha. It could be a sense of expanding into the blue sky. There's all sorts of ways of thinking about spiritual rebirth. So that way we build up the resources in the mind. We could also look in terms of the five spiritual faculties as well. It's a similar kind of thing. We need balanced faculties in order to balance our mind. And so when we do that, we sort of get a bigger base. Here we go, my candle. So when there's a bigger base, when these qualities are combined in the mind, then it can just be very stable and satisfying to sit there and just let everything unfold. Everything unfolds without our own egoic drama going on. It might still be turbulent, but that turbulence is held within the space of a very well resourced mind, if you like. And to me, those five, well, the four surrounding qualities, if you like, they don't feel separate. They don't feel like so many busy things to do to the mind, if you like, that they all feel of one piece. It feels like, so yes, integration, being present, doesn't feel different or doesn't feel like a totally different thing to there being metta in the mind. Metta is a sort of quality of our awareness, if you like. And equally, having wisdom in the mind isn't like a completely different thing to positive emotion. It's a quality of positive emotion. Positive emotion is a quality of that wisdom. And equally, having Shraddha, having a sense of the goal present within the mind as a sort of felt sense, if you like. Those qualities just all sort of knit together for me and form a much more satisfying, wholesome mind. So I just thought I'd give that as an image, really, and as a context for doing this practice within Sangha's system. Just to refer to U Tejaniya, there's a quote that Vajradevi often uses. Let's see if I can find it. He talks about observing the storm when the mind is very stormy. And he says samadhi calms down everything the mind is experiencing, the happening minds. But to calm the knowing mind, only right view is necessary. Right view stabilizes the mind. So he's talking about one of those guy ropes, the guy rope of spiritual death, if you like. I'm just adding a few other guy ropes there, a few other qualities to stabilize the mind. Okay, that's all I want to say. So if you set up for some meditation.